It's Grow the Heck Up.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I am Lavoisier Cornerstone, aka RealtorVois, and this is Grow the Heck Up. And today I'm here with a very special guest. I have Angela Howard here with me, who is the principal and director of New Hope Academy of Tennessee. And we're just going to be talking about a few things related to education and the changing climate of learning and education that, surrounding things that pertain to our children and what it's going to look like going forward. And she's a very thorough and experienced educator, and I have no doubt that we will gain some wisdom today. Angela, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you for having me. How are you today?
Excellent. I'm doing well. Good to have you with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you have been in education where so tell us a little bit about the school. What is New Hope Academy?
New Hope Academy is a Category 4 private church-related school in Tennessee.
Okay.
Tennessee has two ways that you can homeschool your children. You can homeschool through the school board, which is what most states provide for homeschooling, is you go under the school board. You give what is called intent to homeschool. In Tennessee, you can do that, or you can enroll with a private school. And a private school will provide your oversight, making sure that you're in compliance with state requirements, that you're using good materials, and so on and so forth. And that's what New Hope Academy of Tennessee is.
Okay. And so how long have you guys been operating?
This is we just completed our 11th year. We just graduated our 11th class.
Wow,
so
excellent.
We're starting our 12th year.
Excellent. So, sometimes with parents not being so seasoned as educators, I've always been excited to homeschool my children because I feel like I'm kind of wired that way. It can be pretty intimidating for parents that feel like they can't be responsible for their children's education. And I'm sure that the current pandemic put a lot of that to the test. For those of us who may have, dreamt about homeschooling, or I would love to homeschool one day, it can be a bit more challenging than expected. So my question to you is, does it have to be? What does it look like for the parent who might not be sure that they can take responsibility for their children's education under their roof?
Well, there are lots of options. That's the thing. There's so many options. There are traditional homeschoolers that we think about, the people who seem to have all their ducks in a row all the time. They know exactly what they're doing. They're type A's and they plan everything out, but we're not all that way.
Right, for
and
sure.
Yeah, for those of us that are not that way, we just, there are other ways to homeschool. So, you want to purchase good curriculum, and you don't have to spend a fortune to do that. You can do book-based materials, or you can do online materials. Whichever you choose, you want to make sure that it is a quality program. And, like our school offers an online program, and we try to make it very reasonable, and it's great for parents that are working full-time, and you can't spend 4 hours a day working with your child. But you can provide them an online program so that they can work at their pace, and then when you're home, you can work through and see where the struggles are and how to take care of things. Or you can use a full book-based material. You can buy things that come in a full set. It's got the teacher's book and the workbooks. So there's lots available. And you just need someone to come alongside you who knows how to help you, who's seasoned in what they're doing.
Right, that makes sense. Where do you see the current climate of education heading? Obviously, my presumption is, and you mentioned this to me in our conversation, that you have seen an uptick in applications or people trying to get into your school. Is that correct?
Huge uptick, yes.
And so what's your perspective on the coming, what's the outlook for education nationwide? Do you see things getting back to what we would call normal, traditional classroom-based learning? And so how do you see these things?
Well, I see a couple options. I'm hoping that schools are going to open back up. Because so many kids, they need that. They need to be with, so many parents are dependent on that as
for sure.
normal.
For so many things,
So much involved. But I also see that a lot of people who kind of started homeschooling in the spring, they liked it. they enjoyed it.
Mm.
And they're kind of looking for maybe a transition, something, they're trying to find a new normal.
Right.
And you know what? A new normal is about where you're at today, not where you're at next month, not where you're at 6 months from now, not where you're at a year from now.
Right.
Sometimes we just have to walk out where we're at today
That makes
to
sense.
get to where we're supposed to be tomorrow.
Hmm.
And you want to make sure that what you're doing today is setting your child up so that he'll be ready for what comes tomorrow.
Right, right. So let me ask you about the quality of online learning in general. Not so much any particular curriculum, but there is a concern sometimes that online learning is now. I'm a huge fan of online learning. I'm a kid from the projects that took his first Harvard class online. That just blew my mind. I'm like, I'm from the hood and I can just take a class at Harvard. Oh, that was like super cool to me. So I'm a big proponent of it, but I know that not everyone's sold on the efficiency of online learning. They still have their reservations about whether or not it'll be as efficient, whether or not whether or not their children's competency will grow alongside their peers when they decide to matriculate back into the system or go to college. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the child. I think it depends on the child's learning style. I have several children. Some of my children would have taken the online classes and done excellent at them because they were going to do well in whatever they were in. As a student myself in high school, if you'd given me an online class, it probably wouldn't have gone well. As an adult, it went wonderfully well. So it depends on the child, and it depends on, you know your child like no one else does.
Right.
It also depends on the parents checking on things, making sure things are getting done, making sure things are moving along like they need to be. There's a lot that's involved in it. Sometimes it's not for everybody. Online learning is not for everybody. There are some children who just do much better in books, but there are good books available. There are good programs available.
Yeah. So no, I'm sorry, go on.
And you do not have to spend a fortune to do that.
I'm so glad you keep saying that. That's good.
Yeah. Because I see parents who are spending $2,000 to purchase curriculum for their students. You don't have to do that. There is some good stuff you can get for a high school student for $350 to cover the whole year. Right.
So full disclosure, just so people know the validity of our guests, I plan on enrolling our youngest son into your school. So let me ask you, so can you enroll in your school from anywhere? Do you have to be in Tennessee? How does that work?
Anywhere in the state, anywhere in the country. What we tell parents is if you're coming from another state, we want you to make sure you follow the laws and the guidelines of your state. So if your state says you have to give intent to homeschool, you need to give intent to homeschool. But you can still enroll with us. We'll keep your records. We will help you choose the materials you're going to use. If you start using materials, let's say you decide you're going to purchase something used somewhere. We can tell you a direction to go to find that. And when you find that, if you start using it and your child doesn't learn that way, you're using a math curriculum that's not working, then we'll help you find the next thing. You're not stuck with it.
Makes sense.
And but we want to make sure that you're using some materials that's going to help you and going to help your student and going to help your student where they're at. Not necessarily where, if your child's a little bit behind, then you need to come back and build a foundation. If your child's way ahead, then you can just work where they're at ahead. Right.
Another full disclosure, you are one of my closest friends' moms. And she has a tremendous passion about education as well. She used to tell me a lot about you when we would talk. So you're a parent yourself. You're also a grandmom. And so switching gears a little bit, what do you think, watching how parenthood and family and marriage and society has changed in the last 20 to 30 years or whatever, what do you think as a person who's seasoned in wisdom from an educational and a parental standpoint, what do you think moms and dads need to be thinking about right now, given our present climate? Like as parents, what should be some of our highest concerns, and what would you give to us as our greatest comfort?
Nobody knows your child like you do. Nobody is invested in your child's life like you are. when the rubber hits the road, you're going to be the one who makes the difference. You're going to be the one who's responsible as they grow up. It's on us, and that's a huge responsibility. But you should be your child's best advocate, and being their advocate is about loving them unconditionally, but it's also calling, things the way they really are, and dealing with things from where they're really at. And our goal as parents really is about creating a legacy.
Right.
It's about giving our children, when they look back on their childhood, we want them to be able to say, hey, Mom, thank you for sticking by me when you needed to stick by me.
Right.
But thank you for dealing with my bad behavior when I needed you to deal with my bad behavior. And as parents, our goal is to help our children grow up and be good, solid, healthy individuals who learn how to overcome the things that happen in life, because life doesn't always go the way we think it should.
For sure.
And we want our kids to know how to rebound and how to overcome and how to rise up and be strong individuals.
Yeah.
That's our goal. Our goal is to love them and teach them how to love.
Indeed. Amen. And so, things vary from state to state, obviously. There are some states that are kind of pushing to be open. There are some states that are kind of fighting to stay closed. And, we've been thinking about homeschooling for a long time, but even as I said, in the pandemic, it's kind of forcing us to think about the viability of it. Because even as a person who's passionate about education, I found that just taking it upon myself to figure out exactly what to do wasn't as easy as I thought it would be myself. And so even hearing what your school offers is kind of exciting to me, how you kind of allow parents to take responsibility for their children's education, but there's still you gave me some encouragement that there's still some infrastructure there to where you don't have to be left out in the cold.
Absolutely. And like I said, when you're starting from scratch, you don't necessarily want to try to piece everything together. Lots of seasoned homeschoolers who've been doing it 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they kind of know how to piece things together. When you're new to it, you need someone who kind of says, okay, well, let's look at this and let's start with this.
Okay.
And give you some assistance, because that's what I hear a lot of people saying, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. And so sometimes just having a boxed set that says, do this today, it's very helpful.
For sure. And so again, back to questions about the concern about the quality of education. What has the outcome of your school been in terms of students and how they matriculate either back into the traditional education system or move on and go to college? What's that been like for you guys?
We have students in lots of colleges all over the country. We have graduates. We had a student a few years ago, had a 36 ACT, had a perfect ACT.
Wow.
We have students who have severe struggles, and we have students who are very gifted. We cover the whole gamut. And we have students who've graduated and they're in every branch of the military, all branches of public service, and lots of students in colleges. Our students do well.
Wow, good to know.
They do well. We just want them to succeed. We want to provide what they need to get from where they are to where they're going. Right. And if they're enrolled with us, we don't own your enrollment. If you decide you want to transfer back into public school, we want to make sure you're able to do that as smoothly as possible. Right. We know that lots of families are going to homeschool just for a little while. Right, so for sure. We want to help you when you're ready to transition back. We don't want you to have a struggle. We want it to be easy and smooth. And so we get a lot of families who've had some sort of a tragedy. Maybe they've had a death in their family, or they have a severe illness in their family, and their children aren't doing well in a traditional setting because they need time to heal. They need time to deal. And so
they come to you for a myriad of different reasons.
Yes. And so they will come and enroll with us for just 1 year. And then we try to help them be prepared for when they transition back into the school they came from.
Right. Well, that's good to know. Well, listen, Angela, we really would like to have you back, and especially as the you know, as things progress and we see where they go, I'd love to have your input in the future. And so where can we find out about you? Where can people contact you? Of course, wherever you're watching this, there will be a link below in the, the particulars about where you can reach Miss Angela Howard. But where can we find you?
You can do a Google search and you can find us in New Hope Academy of Tennessee. Okay. Or our website is new-hope-academy.com. And our school phone number is 423-239-9700. Or you can email us at newhopeacademytn@gmail.com.
Right. And so things are occurring to me based on, we probably had like 2 podcasts between our conversations already. So what I asked you something about homeschooling, and you made a distinction and you said, no, we're actually a private school. We're not a homeschool network, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And what's the difference?
Well, we are actually a private school that allows parents to be the primary teacher of their children. Mm. So we are actually a private school rather than a homeschool co-op. The difference is a co-op is when it's like a tutorial service. People will go there and they will have classes and their children can take classes, but it's not really a school.
Right.
They offer assistance, but it's not really a school. Ours is actually a school.
Right.
So some of our students actually enroll with us, but then they will go take co-op classes somewhere else. Some of them do our online programs. Some of them do all of their work at home. Some of our students actually go to college while they're enrolled with us. So they're getting their high school diploma and working on an associate's degree at the same time.
Wow, that's interesting.
We have quite a few students that do that.
And also one thing we discussed was sometimes there is a problem when a kid takes a year, 2 or 3 off to homeschool and tries to get back into the school system, and sometimes the credits aren't accepted or they don't qualify based on this or that metric. What do you guys do to help parents with that?
Well, the main thing is you want to use a good material. You don't want to use educational materials that you purchase at Walmart. They are for, those are activities. They're not really educational products. They're good practice, but that's not what you need.
Right.
And the other thing is we encourage our high school students to take the ACT or the SAT. If they're going to go to college, you want to be preparing for that as you go along. We encourage just basically to use good things. And when they go back, if you've used really good materials and your students are doing what they need to be doing, when they test, if the school system requires them to test, some schools do, lots of schools don't. But we can't guarantee which ones will and which ones won't. We generally don't have any problems with them transitioning back.
Very cool. Very glad to hear. Well, Angela, thank you so much for spending time with us. Like I said, I would love to have you back to talk more about education and as it relates to parenting and family life, because obviously so much of that is changing for so many of us across the country, and would love to continue the conversation about how to navigate that.
Well, thank you. I would love to come back. I've really enjoyed our time together. Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.